Welcome back to the channel. Doing a video today on this E-Z-Go TXT golf cart, and not exactly sure the model. It's an A1196. I'm assuming it's a 96. E-Z-Go 2-cylinder. Looks about like that. This particular cart came in, won't start. It cranks, just will never fire. And the owner has done a number of things trying to remedy the problem. He's replaced the battery, so it's got a brand new battery, new fuel pump, new fuel filter, fresh gas, new spark plugs, stuff like that, and nothing works. The only thing that sort of worked is he replaced the spark plugs, and it ran just for a little while and then quit, which I can't really explain based on what I found the problem to be, but anyway, that's where it sits. So what I like to do, and I've explained this on other videos, is with anything that's not running that comes in, just sort of back up and start over on it and break it down to the 4 strokes of the engine. So looking at intake, compression, combustion, and exhaust. And the 2 main things that I look at there would be on the intake side of things. So looking at fuel, if you have a fuel problem or a spark problem. So I should say intake and combustion are kind of the 2 things we're looking at. Likely it's not going to be a compression issue a lot of the time, because you'll have other issues along with that. You'll have like a noise or lack of oil, or it'll all of a sudden have died and made a bang, or the motor's stuck, or something more serious like that. So on something especially seasonal use like this, where it sits a long time and then won't run in the spring, you're going to have a fuel or spark issue. So anyway, what I did is started by checking fuel on this. I took the air filter off, took the supply line to the carburetor off the pump, made sure it was pumping there, took the air filter off and made sure I saw fuel squirting into the carburetor, and I did, and it smelled gassy when it was cranking, but just was not starting. So what that indicated to me, that it smelled gassy but was not starting, is that we have no spark. So to confirm that, I took my spark tester on each of the 2 wires here, connected it to the spark plug wire, and then the other end have kind of a bulb style. I'll show you here. So connected this in line, cranked it over, and I had no spark on either side. And with E-Z-Go in particular, you can set this in the middle, same with Yamaha, and it should be able to run without moving. You want to make sure you have it right in neutral in between forward and reverse, or it will try to jump on you. On Club Car, there's a different procedure, which I think I've explained in other videos, but anyway, make sure you have it in neutral before you're cranking it over and trying to start it. So anyway, I had no spark and had to figure out why. So the first thing I did is took off my power wire at the coil and tested voltage from that power wire to ground while cranking to make sure I had my 12 volts. I actually only had about 10.5 or 11 volts, which I think is within spec. You've got a lot of dirty old wiring here that's adding some resistance to that, so I did have pretty close to 12 volts there. Then I also checked, that would be the primary side between the 2 small wires on the coil. So I took those off and put a voltmeter on the ohms setting between those 2 spade terminals on the primary side of the coil. And you're looking for, I think the spec was between like 2.5 and 4.5 ohms, or something similar to that, maybe 3 and 5. Right in that area, I had 3.6. So it was right in that area. Don't quote me on that, but that's roughly what you're looking for. And the next thing to check is on the secondary side of the coil, which is between your 2 spark plug wires. So when you take the spark plug wires off, put your probes of your voltmeter between each one. So one on this one on this one, and you're looking for ohms there as well. And that spec is more like 11 to 16 ohms, or 12 to 17, right in that range, and I had 0. So that was interesting. I had 0 ohms here, so I thought, okay, the coil's got to be bad. But just in case, I'm going to remove my plug wires from the coil. They just thread in here on the coil, so you can unthread those and pull the wires out. And there's kind of a coarse threaded spike in each spark plug wire hole that grabs onto the wire. So then I put my probes on those spikes, and I had 16.5 ohms. So that was perfectly within spec. So narrowed it down now that I have bad plug wires. They weren't making a good connection, or the wires themselves were just broken or had too high of resistance. So I had those wires out. I had some extra wires from a vehicle that I wired up last summer, I think. I like to keep these extra scraps around. So I made up 2 new spark plug wires, threaded those in, and used my spark tester again, and now I had spark on both sides. So the only thing with this is these are an 8mm wire, which is a little bit tight in that hole. You can kind of shave that down a little bit to fit better. Maybe put a little bit of dielectric grease to help it thread in, and just double check that you do have spark and that it's a nice secure connection. Nothing really should be pulling on these at any time, but you want to make sure it stays in and has a good connection while you're driving it around on rough conditions. But anyway, I hope that helps you guys that have similar problems with this. And if you have any questions, make sure to leave those down in the comments as always. And like and subscribe. I will see you guys on the next video.